Okay. Hello, I'm Mario Toneguzzi, Managing Editor of Canada's Podcast Network. Joining me today is Benjamin Heninger, founder of Groon Construction on Calgary's podcast. Thanks for joining me today, Benjamin.
No problem. Thanks for having me, Mario.
Well, let's talk about Groon Construction. Tell me what you guys do.
We're a boutique construction company. So I do foundation assessments and repairs and general contracting.
Okay, and how long have you started this?
Groon Construction was created in 2019. It was sort of renamed. I've been doing foundation repair for almost 25 years.
Uh-huh.
So we had a rebranding and refacing of the company. So it's been around for a while, but Groon Construction and 4-Inch Consulting, my professional division of it, has been around since 2019.
Okay, and tell me just a little bit about the name. Where does Groon come from?
Well, I have a tendency to do things a little differently. I like what I like, Mario. Let me put it that way. I wanted to have a name for this company that was like nothing else, but reflected my personal brand. So I have Icelandic roots. So I started looking into different words, different names, and groon is an Icelandic word for base. And I focus and specialize on foundations, and that's the base of any structure is your foundation.
Yeah, if you don't have foundation, you're pretty much toast, aren't you?
Yep, you're going to have issues if you got a bad one too. So
yeah, and when you're talking foundations, you're talking primarily residential, or?
We do everything. So we will do commercial, but mostly residential. Yeah.
Okay, so how'd you get involved in this?
My dad has owned his own concrete restoration company since 83. So growing up in the house of an entrepreneur, we didn't get allowance. We got to go down to the shop and sweep up and clean out vehicles. And then when we were old enough, we'd go out on sites. And part of the scope of what my dad used to do in the winter, we would fix foundations. So we'd do all sorts of concrete repair. We would do coatings and things like that. And in the winter, injections and concrete repair, like how I fix these cracks in the foundations, they would start to be a mainstay. And he would get rid of a lot of his seasonal employees and keep family on. I'm the youngest of 4, so my brother and I would work with him. And I learned how to do these at about the age of 18. Wow. And just kind of figured out how to do it. Got good at it. It's always it's helpful when you have a good understanding of epoxies and mixing and chemicals, the chemical reactions and surface prep and stuff. So I kind of came by that honestly. No education in terms of specific education, just trial by fire on the ground.
Oh, really? Okay, then. Tell me a little bit about the company and your plans, growth plans for the company. Or?
I've had quite a few companies in the past that I've grown, and there's certain aspects of it that I really liked in terms of developing cultures and things like that. But what I truly like the most is being a lone wolf. Yeah. Being, the chef, cook, and bottle washer, everything, right? So I do everything from my own marketing, which I'm getting some help with now. I do the field work. I do the engineering work that's associated with it. And quite honestly, I don't think I'm going to get any bigger. I want to keep it just me. I want to keep it small and boutique. That way I can control quality coming out. I like that. I like that aspect of it. So no plans to get bigger.
So what other companies did you have in the past?
Right out of university, I started an environmental engineering company. I'm a civil engineer. I took quite a few environmental courses I linked up with a partner who was a friend of mine, and we started up an environmental company. We worked on some right-of-ways up in and environmental aspects of right-of-ways for power lines up in northern Alberta. I'm branched out on my own as a consultant, project management consultant. That's where most of my background is commercial and industrial project management. And then I started an electrical engineering company and field services. We used to build substations with the utilities in Alberta, as well as a lot of the big industry, big oil up north. Those are the real notable ones. And then and the interesting part is I've been doing injections and foundation repair and analysis throughout all of those. They've all kind of just been going from the background, and kind of carried all the way through. I've really never let it go.
Huh, interesting. What would you say, I imagine there's a bunch of companies, similar companies out there that do what you do. What would you say differentiates you from other companies?
To my knowledge, in the region, I'm the only one who's an engineer or has an engineer on staff. So I bring the ethics and responsibilities of a professional engineer into every job site that I go on. So I'd say that is probably my biggest differentiator.
Oh, okay then. What would I'm just curious, when you flip back the clock in time and into your university, like what was it that I guess motivated you to go into engineering? What did you like about engineering?
Well, that's an interesting.
The money, I guess.
Honestly, the money wasn't even factored. It was more being able to have a seat at the table as a voice that would be heard.
Yeah.
From a professional standpoint. I didn't start university till a little bit later. I was one of those guys that was working with my dad since I was about 15. And out of high school, thought everybody was crazy to go to university while I was off making good money, buying new trucks, putting stereos, living the life of an 18-year-old.
Yeah, you bet.
And then you realize inadvertently, as you look around on job sites and you're 18 and you're looking around and you see the guys that you're working with at 45 and 50 doing the same job. And it's all of a sudden, you have this realization of, well, this could be me in 30 years. Maybe I want to be able to branch out. You realize, I didn't know it at the time, the concept of hitting your glass ceiling, where it's like, you're only going to make so much. You're only going to be able to do so much and have so much influence. So I was actually greatly encouraged by my father-in-law as I was courting his daughter of furthering my education. And he helped introduce me into the engineering field and identified that I had what it took with the experience on sites, to get into construction and project management. And that was a natural parlay in, and yeah, the rest was history. In 2000, I started my engineering degree at Mount Royal and finished up at U of C. And honestly, I can honestly say I don't really do much engineering in terms of design work and, calculations on drawings. I'm more of a critical thinker, problem solver, and very analytical, being able to apply science to real life problems when it comes to your foundations.
Well, let's talk about real life problems, like and being in Calgary. We all know, those of us who have lived here a long time, the shifts in weather, winter, and how temperatures can one day be minus 30 and then within 2 days be plus 15. What does that do to foundations around the city?
Honestly, our Chinook cycles, you hit it on the head. I mean, minus 30 this week we're alone. We hit minus 41 a couple days ago with the wind, and now we're hovering around plus 5. A 46-degree temperature differential. Yeah, it's hard on everything, absolutely everything, from vehicles to structures to the foundation that those structures sit on. We we have some engineering mechanisms in place with the way that we put our concrete in and the batch mix plants or the mix designs that we have to take into some of that. But, you know, they are taxed just like everything else are. When I say they, the concrete foundations or even wood foundations.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it's important to note it's not necessarily the cold alone, it's the moisture that comes with it.
Wow.
Like here in Calgary this past week, we had 18 inches of snow and then we hit minus 40 and then we're going to hit +5.
Yeah.
So a lot of that snow starts to melt.
Yeah.
So we now have a huge accumulation of moisture that has drifted and blown against foundation sitting right where we don't want it.
Yeah.
So, you know, where we get the thaw, that's when, if there's imperfections in the foundations, we start to get leaks. Even if it's not a major leak, it'll get in. And then at night it gets cold, drops down to -10, -15, it freezes again.
Yeah.
Do you know what? You don't only have this one big shift from -40 to +5 every night. You have another freezing cycle.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Melts, freeze, melts, freeze. This thermal expansion, you know, it'll deteriorate your foundations without a doubt.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, which will cause issues not only now, but it's starting to create issues in the future.
Yeah, exactly. So, Benjamin, what do you like about being an entrepreneur?
Not being an employee.
Yeah.
I've only had I had some internship jobs when I first started when I was in university through the summer. I worked for construction companies, and then I immediately branched off into my own. And I had a little hiatus there where I went back and worked for utility for about a year.
Yeah.
And I kind of knew going back in that I wasn't really a corporate guy. I believe in working hard and doing what it takes to get the job done, no matter what time it is. I've never been one to punch out at 4:30 and say, you know, the phone off, turn your brain off and say, I'm out of here. See you tomorrow. Everything can wait. And I think that's the biggest part of owning my own business that I like is I'm very hands-on.
Yeah.
I like the control. I love the idea of taking my own personal values and reflecting that through my company. And I think that's important. I think that's what creates passion. And quite honestly, it gets you through those tough times as an entrepreneur when the market's slow or your competition comes in and scoops some of your work away, or just to keep you sleeping at night, to be able to know that what you're doing during the day is exactly what you want to do and it makes you happy.
Yeah.
I'm at a stage in my life. I make a very concerted effort to do things that make me happy.
So what would you say if somebody came to you, say a younger person and wanted to be an entrepreneur, what would you tell them? What advice would you give them?
What advice? I'd ask them a series of questions. I'd get an idea of their thoughts on risk, how much they believe in themselves, what their passions are. Because I believe that there's a stigma attached with being an entrepreneur that people do it so that, you know, they can exploit an idea that they've got or take an opportunity of a niche market and be able to go, and it's all about money. And it's all about, oh, okay, well, you can do this and it's financial freedom. That's the part that I would question in the up and coming entrepreneurs. Why are you doing it?
Yeah.
Because there's a whole bunch of gut checks you got to do.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that you can be taught how to do this stuff. I believe it's inherent. I think anybody could be an entrepreneur if they wanted to. It's the mindset they need to be in. Yeah. Believing in themselves, and quite honestly, like having the gumption and the drive to do it. Mm-hmm. If you don't have some of these things, or you're a worrier. I'll share a story with you. I have a friend lately who got laid off from his full-time job and got approached on a business idea, but they didn't want to bring him on as an employee. And I mean, he was an employee his whole life and saw it. He knew he knows his stuff inside and out. He's a technical sales guy. And he was just kind of looking at it like, well, I don't know. Well, I've got bills and I've got all these things and I need to keep it going. And it's like, slow down. What do you want to do? What do you have? You've got an opportunity here where somebody's almost guaranteeing some work as a start off point. You know what you're doing. You're confident in it. I help get a head around how to do some risk management on it. But from an entrepreneurial standpoint, when you're your own boss, you get to take everything that you charge. So you start to bring in an opportunity where you start to make more per hour, which means that you don't necessarily have to work as many hours.
True. Yeah.
You can hustle as much as you want. You can put as much, you can increase your profit margins if you need to because you're slow, or if you don't necessarily have the time to do a job. You've got this flexibility, and it all comes to you.
Yeah.
And it's just a different way of thinking to be able to do it. And honestly, he ended up turning the idea away, but it's like, because it didn't fit his risk profile.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was like, he's like, I'm sure you're upset. I'm like, dude, I'm not upset. I'm not upset at all. Because if you're not prepared to do this, if you're not in a headspace, it's not going to work. Yeah. And I think that goes back to, if you're not doing something that you're going to be happy and you enjoy doing, don't do it.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. So obviously, being an entrepreneur, it's a 24/7 job in many ways. You're often either
Absolutely.
doing it or thinking about it, right? But what do you do outside of work to relax? What are some of your hobbies, passions, interests?
I love to mountain bike.
Oh, cool.
I grew up my whole life with a boat in my life, whether it was extended family that had it. So I love water sports, from slalom water skiing to wake surfing, anything on the water. Boat life is fantastic. It's the one place I still have my phone. I'll still take a call. Yeah. Usually if I take a call on the boat, I let people know where I am, just to let them know that I'm still enjoying life and I've taken time out to take their call. Yeah. But yeah, spending time. I've got 3 kids. So we enjoy, we have access to a place down in Montana. We enjoy getting away to the mountains, snowboarding, water skiing, mountain biking, doing everything we can to really be outside.
Was that a lot of the stuff you did as a kid?
Yes. I played a lot of hockey as a kid. I did enjoy some skiing, but mountain biking and BMXing and crashing and skateboarding, absolutely. It was all over that. And we grew up, my dad had a family place on Chestermere Lake, and there as much as we possibly could. So life on a boat that's the dream. That's why if I were to retire, it would definitely have a boat in it.
So tell me why. Like, why is life on a boat so appealing?
I just love it. Maybe it's my Icelandic Viking heritage. I feel at home on a boat. Yeah. I love it, being behind it, driving it. It's funny. I tell this story sometimes, and we have a big wake surf boat, and I love teaching people how to wake surf. I love the smile, the happiness that comes with it when they're done. And I go to get behind it, and you kind of get these sideways faces and be like, I kind of thought you'd be better. It's like, well, when you own a boat, it doesn't mean that you're necessarily good behind the boat. It means you're a hell of a good boat driver.
Yeah.
So, and it's this ability to be that catalyst so that people can have fun. And honestly, that feeling on the boat, feeling on the water, no matter what kind of boat it is, it can be a $250,000 boat or a $5,000 or $2,000 fishing boat. It doesn't matter, because when you get out on that water and you have that freedom, and I love it. Yeah. It's my happy place, Mario. My happy place.
We all need a happy place. Now, I just have to, before we sign off, I have to ask you this question. Now, your last name is well known in Calgary. Are you related to the car dealerships, Heninger?
Brian Heninger? Yes, I am. I believe he's my second cousin, maybe a little further, but I have a very good, close relationship with him. He's one of the guys that taught me how to water ski. I have a ton of admiration for Brian and his family. Cool. And yeah, to this day, I I visit them and talk to them as much as I possibly can, and we spend lots of time out there in the summer because he's got a boat and a place right on the water out at Chestermere, and we definitely enjoy. And they're phenomenal people. So
Another very strong and successful Calgary business for years.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, that was a fantastic. I'm sitting in my Toyota right now. So
and there you go.
Family
Right?
business, and I'll support it.
Yeah, if you get sick of doing foundation work, you can become a salesman, car salesman.
Maybe if I could do it in a contract. I'm not sure that I'd be the greatest employee, as I said. So, but
Yes. All right. Well, Benjamin, thanks very much for joining us today.
no problem. Appreciate it, Mario. Thanks.
All right. That was Benjamin Heninger, who is founder of Groon Construction in Calgary. I'm Mario Tanaguzzi, managing editor of Canada's podcast. Thanks for joining us today.